If you're a pearl clutcher, I hope your necklace is industrial strength. Be advised. Hey y'all, I'm Jenn. I'm from Oakland, and I'm a queer, black feminist scholar.
This is Daren, hailing from the mean streets of Anaheim. I'm an introvert, a novelist, and a nerd.
We're early 30-somethings with 3 kids and over a decade of marriage.
This is a podcast about the realities of blackness and adult life. We do adult differently.
This is That Black Couple. Greetings. This is episode 17, the 5th episode of season 2 of That Black Couple. Grab your pomegranate margarita. I have to get mine specially made by a bartender who also doesn't like to make them for me. Why aren't you saying anything?
Because everyone listening probably has no idea.
It's a pomegranate margarita, and I get it with a salt rim and 2 green olives, and it's fantastic. And this is a very queer episode, and I feel like that's a very queer drink.
And it is because it works for you, and
I'm
if
a queer.
It works for you, then we're going to celebrate you.
And that's my queer drink. Also, I don't even drink that much alcohol. It's either that or Prosecco. So I really don't fucking know what queerer beverage I could get. So if somebody else has a queerer drink than a pomegranate margarita with a salt rim and 2 olives, then y'all let me know.
I think it's the sweet and the salt together that gets a little confusing. But it works though. It works though.
As long as you think it works. But anyway, have a seat, y'all. This is Jenn.
And this is Daren.
And this is That Black Couple. Before we get started, make sure you follow us on Twitter and Instagram at That BLK Couple, on Facebook at That Black Couple, and look us up on the internets at www.thatblackcouple.com.
You can stream episodes on Google Play, Apple iTunes, Stitcher, and SoundCloud. And you have to rate us high because I don't know. I don't have a good one.
I was gonna say I love this part because I always look at you and you're like, because I'm like, oh shit, what he gonna say this time? You don't know why?
Because I think we need to show love to everyone.
Oh, don't be corny and cheesy.
Let's extend hands across the aisle.
Oh no.
And,
across what aisle?
And just give all the love and joy and peace and everything that everyone should have. I think we deserve it.
Whenever people say across the aisle, they mean partisan, and I don't agree with that. So, anyway.
I want all the love from everybody.
You want Republican love? You want Trump voter love? You want NRA love? Oh, you stopped. What happened?
I want all the love. I want it to be actual, genuine love, and not love with malice intent behind it.
I'll pass. So let's get started on this episode that is called Janelle Monae-osexual. I came up with the name.
I really like the name. I was kind of opposed to it at first, but then it kind of grew on me.
Well, I have a major crush on her. I think, what is she, like 5'2"? So we wouldn't make sense together because I'm like a whole foot and some inches taller than her. But I have a major crush on her, like a major serious crush on her. So I think that my sexual identity actually is Janelle Monae-osexual.
Janelle Monae, she's one of those people, like, how can you not like her?
Yeah.
She's just so amazing, and she's just so wonderful.
She's very attractive.
And she's clearly a good person.
A good person. She's very talented. She has her own vibe.
And she don't care.
She don't give a shit.
Like, how can you hate on that?
I don't think anybody can. Okay, wait. We have to start the episode.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about Janelle Monae. And in first things first, we're going to talk about her coming out as queer. And we're going to talk about that in reference to the word queer and why that is important, why it's making a comeback, and thinking about what that means for this generation. Then in the conversation, I'll talk a little bit about queerness as both a sexual and political identity because they're different and that's important. And then at the end, in segment 3, we're going to reflect on the entire kind of concept about sexuality and gender. And I'm a queer Black woman in a relationship with a cis heterosexual Black man. And that's interesting. So we'll talk about it. You want to talk about it, Daren?
I'll be ready to talk about it. I got a lot to talk about.
Why you got a lot to talk about?
We've been married a long time.
What does that mean?
I've been knowing you since the early aughts. So I got a lot to talk about.
I hate aughts. Why do people say aughts?
Because that's the official word. That's why.
Who made that shit up?
I don't know. Merriam-Webster? Somebody?
Fuck Merriam and Webster.
One of them.
The early aughts?
It's the aughts. That's what it is.
No, you've known me since the 2000s. We're just going to say the
2000s. The 2000s?
I didn't know you the 99. I knew you in the 2000s. Thank you very much. Go ahead and get started, Dan. I'm getting irritated. You know I hate that word.
I know, but it is what it is.
It's annoying.
Accept it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Why are you looking at me?
What? I'm trying to start the episode.
You can't start the episode if you staring at me like that.
I'm taking a breath.
Oh, y'all.
I'm starting the episode.
Y'all need to come get your friend. Come get him.
Lego.
First
things first. Okay. Our episode called Janelle Monae-osexual.
Yes.
There we go. Janelle Monae-osexual. Really, the thought came about because Janelle Monae, she came out as being queer on the Lesbian Day of Visibility. The article with the interview came out late April 2018, and she did it in Rolling Stone.
Yeah.
Through an interview. And I'm going to actually read her actual words that were printed in the article. She said, "Being a queer Black woman in America, someone who has been in relationships with both men and women, I consider myself to be a free-ass motherfucker." Ain't that a way? Ain't that a way? And then so I guess she initially identified herself as bisexual, but then she clarified and said, "But then later I read about pansexuality and was like, oh, these are things that I identify with too. I'm open to learning more about who I am." And I think that's really, really important that she came out in this way, that she was so transparent to say, this is who I am and this is what I'm about. And not even that's who I am, but also me learning who I am is like a journey.
Right.
And so like she initially thought she was bisexual, but as she learned more about herself and about other people and how she could identify, she kind of gravitated towards, pansexualism as something that was more fitting of who she actually was.
Right. And I mean, I think people who are queer, who are fans of Janelle Monae, we already knew she was queer, right? So when she came out, it was like, yay, thank you for telling us, girl. Right? So a lot of us queers were like, yep, we know. But at the same time, I do think it was very important that she made clear, like, I'm a queer Black woman. And also that she used the terms queer and pansexual. The reason why it's important to use those terms is that far too often when people talk about non-heterosexual identities, they're talking about gay and lesbian. And so most often it's just gay. And they really just kind of sum up most of non-heterosexual identifying people into usually talking about cis white male gays. And it's like, well, there's a whole lot of other people who identify as non-heterosexual, and their experiences are valid and important. Our experiences are valid and important, and we fall along a spectrum. We are complex. And so I think the idea that one might say, I'm queer, and then one might say, wait, I'm learning about something like pansexuality, and now I'm wondering if maybe that's a better fit for me. That's important because it shows that there's other ways to be, right? There's other ways of being. There's other ways of existing that are equally as valid, that don't have to fit in our binaries, in our categories, in our areas that we become comfortable and familiar with, that can be fulfilling and can help people to express themselves in ways that make the most sense for their lives.
Right.
That's what's important. I think that's pretty dope.
To me, that's kind of what the very concept of queerness is, right? It's deviating from some type of, elusive norm.
Right.
Some like there's two check boxes, or maybe there's 3 or there's 4, and you got to pick one of those, and
right,
and you don't get to decide that you're not one of those things. Like, you got to be one of those. Now pick one.
right.
Under gunpoint, you decide.
And it's like, I guess I'm closer to this one, so I'll go with that.
Right, and it's like we don't have to categorize ourselves in these very strict, ways. We can be just who we actually are. And like I said, that's kind of what spoke to me most about what Janelle Monae was saying. Is she was like, I'm just really trying to figure out who I am and how to best represent who I am. It might not be something that you agree with. It might not be something that someone else agrees with, but it's who I am as a person.
Right.
And that's what's most important.
And I also like that she did it on Lesbian Day of Visibility, because I mean, she was making a statement, right? So she could have came out and said, hey, I'm a lesbian. But on Lesbian Day of Visibility, she actually said, hey, I also want to give some visibility to people who are not lesbians. And I feel like that's also like, important. Like, I think the process of kind of dismantling structures by interrupting them is actually really incredibly important. And the process of saying like, hey, listen, I identify with this day in some ways, and in other ways I don't.
Yeah.
And that's a critical thing. I don't think that was by accident. I don't think that she came out on Lesbian Day of Visibility by accident.
There's no way that was by accident.
No way.
And and the other thing, this is clearly the point of this podcast is not to be all about Janelle Monae, or
why not?
It could be.
This episode is.
we could go on for hours and hours about the wonders of Janelle Monae.
Yes, we could.
But the other thing that I kind of want to get into, like you said, it wasn't an accident. Because if you also think about her recent album release, Dirty Computer,
right?
Like, this album is like, is like queerness front and center.
Oh my gosh!
Like, from front to back.
I've been playing it nonstop. Like, I'm struggling to get my actual work done because I don't stop playing the album. Like, I have to listen to interviews that I'm supposed to be transcribing, but I'm like, how do I'm like the Tyra Banks meme. I'm like, listen to interviews, but also listen to Janelle Monae. Like, I have not yet figured out how I can use my ears to simultaneously listen and transcribe to interviews, but then also only listen to Dirty Computer.
You can't.
I'm going to figure it out. It's going to happen. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't know if I have to clone my ears. I don't know if I have to just get new drums.
I don't think you can do it because the album itself is just so captivating.
It is captivating.
There's no way you can
I'm so distracted.
Do something else at the same time.
I'm so fucking distracted by her.
But that's the point. Is like, this album to me, it's artistically, it's a great, beautiful, gorgeous album.
Right, but then as a queer, I just feel like she's speaking into my life.
Yeah, and I think for an artist of her caliber, at the point that she is in her career, to put an album out like this is courageous, but it also is so important.
Right.
That anyone can listen to this and get something out of it, but it also kind of gives visibility.
Right.
In ways that,
Here's the thing, and that's what I also want to draw attention to. So I want to draw attention to Janelle's intentional focus on being visible as a queer person, as a pansexual person. Like, thinking about on the album when she says things like, I hope I find a guy and I hope she loves me too.
Right.
And intentionally, like, playing with that binary and playing with that queer, pansexuality. I think that that's important too, because there is an erasure of bisexual people. There is an erasure of queer sex people. There is an erasure of pansexual people. There is this myth that people who are not either identify as heterosexual or who don't identify as gay or lesbian, that they're just confused, that they're just kind of testing things out. And it's like, no, actually, we're not confused. We know what we like. And it's a whole lot of different things. And that's okay, right? And so I think that her doing this ahead of the album release, and then on the album having these explicit moments where she's clearly having these kind of romantic intimacies with people who identify as women, but also having intimacies with people who identify as men, right? So, like, I think that there's just interesting kind of tensions there that are important in terms of not just artistry, and not just her expressing herself on her own terms, but also in terms of visibility, right? Because the album is doing well. And so it's not like, when we have these pop icons, have these songs where, like, I think I get like a girl, I kissed a girl, oop, I hooked up with a girl. No, not like that. Like, she has a whole album that's like, no, I actually am queer. and like it's a way of life, which is very different than I think the way that mainstream pop culture usually deals with non-heterosexual sexuality.
Right.
Is usually like, oh my God, I still am dealing with the male gaze. Look, I kissed a girl and I liked it. You know, ooh, I'm cool for the summer. You know, like that's cute, but
there's a song that just came out by Rita Ora.
Yeah,
it's the same concept. It's 4 women on the song, and it's like, oh, I just wanted to, kiss a girl tonight, and it's that same concept that you're speaking to, like,
right.
Oh, I just, I'm just being out here, and not saying like, okay, I'm actually a queer person,
Right. And Janelle's saying like, no, I'm not just hooking up with somebody, and no, I'm not just randomly kissing a girl. I actually adore women and women's bodies. I have a whole song dedicated to women's bodies, and this is important to me, and I'm aware of what that means, and I'm aware of how that works, and I'm aware of, what that, in terms of sexuality, what that means in terms of how I move throughout the world. Like, that's a different conversation. That's a different conversation than I kissed a girl. I liked it. She tastes like cherry chewing gum. Like, that's not.
There's a seriousness,
right,
and a realness there that's
right,
important,
right. And I feel like this is a particular political moment where that can happen, and that can be the popular cultural shift. Like, we can have music like that and it not be like aghast. It's not like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? Is her record label going to drop her? Oh no. Whereas in the aughts, like you would say, we don't know what would have happened. And so I think that that's pretty dope. And I think it's dope that she is visible in such a way. I keep thinking about back to the Met Gala, seeing her and Lena Waithe just being like... just being like dope and queer and being like, wow, and it's just, that's fantastic. And I know, like, me as a kid, like, it's not really seeing queer Black women prominently like that. That was rough, and so I'm really happy that young queer kids can look up and see Janelle Monae as a cover girl, seeing Lena Waithe in the movies. Like,
yeah,
that's a big deal.
Thank you for listening. We are the proud founders of watercoolerconvos.com, a platform at the intersections of Blackness, culture, and adulting. We started that Black couple to dive deeper into the issues facing young Black millennial folks navigating the anti-Black, anti-queer, white supremacist world today. This podcast is supported by donations and patronage of our listeners and readers of our blog. You should head over there and check out some of the content when you get a chance.
If you would like to become a monthly subscriber or patron and help fund our content, sign up at www.patreon.com/watercoolerconvos. Patreon is spelled Patreon.com. Please consider giving $5 or $10 per month to help us build our platform and grow our organization. We really want to hire new writers and social media people, y'all, but we can't do that without your help. You can also give a one-time donation at www.paypal.me/watercoolerconvos. All donations are welcome. You can stream the show on Google Play, Apple iTunes, Stitcher, and SoundCloud. When you listen, please consider hitting that heart button, sharing an episode, giving us a 5-star rating, and leaving some dope-ass comments. This helps us with our page views and also gives us more listeners for the show. Thank you so much.
Let's get back to the show.
All right, we're back.
And we back.
Oh, God.
I'm not going to do it.
Okay,
I won't do it. I promise.
Thank you. So I think now we should talk about queerness and understanding queerness as both a set of kind of sexual gender politics, but then also as a set of kind of political ideas and ideologies. And so I talk about this, and I got to give a shout out to Kathy Cohen, who's my advisor, who's also just a super dope queer theorist and political scientist, who's talked a lot about queerness and how we understand queerness in terms of an identity. So there's a lot of people who will say, I'm queer, and they might mean I'm queer, meaning I don't subscribe to heterosexuality. And that's what they mean by queer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? You have other people who will say, I'm queer. And they mean, I don't subscribe to heterosexuality, and I also don't subscribe to binary gender. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you might have people who say, I'm queer, who say, I don't subscribe to heterosexuality, I don't subscribe to binary gender, and I also don't believe that bisexualism is the only way to understand non-heterosexuality. There's pansexuality because those binary genders have multiple forms of being and expressing themselves, and I believe that pansexualism is a better representation, right? Which is still different than,
Well, Can we pause?
Okay.
And can you give like an actual, like, clear definition of what it means to be pansexual?
Yeah. I mean, so, and I can give it in terms of what I understand. And I'll give it actually in reference to bisexuality. So there's a history in terms of identifying as bisexual. And for a lot of people, bisexual is what it sounds like. I'm attracted to both genders, which is a binary gender understanding, men and women.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with that is that there are trans gender nonconforming people. Where do they fall along a binary gender spectrum? They don't. So it excludes them, right? So specifically in like the last 10 to 15 years, a lot more people have said that pansexualism is more inclusive of understanding someone as being attracted to and romantically interested in multiple genders as opposed to two genders. But then there are other people who say that bisexual does the same thing. So there's theoretical kind of arguments on both sides, where some people will say that if I identify as bisexual, I don't just mean, cis men and cis women. Maybe I mean something else. And there are some people who say, no, that's just what it means, right?
Yeah.
So that's up for debate. I'm not willing to jump into that debate. But I do know that, like Janelle Monae said, people read about it and they say, I'm willing to learn more about it. And I know for me, that's how I figured out what my experiences were. I said, I actually thought I was lesbian as a child. I thought I don't like boys. I was like, they get on my nerve and they smell bad and I don't like them. And the idea of ever having a relationship with a boy grosses me out. I was grossed out by boys for a very long time. It was a very long time. And I was like, I'm just gay. I'm gay. And it wasn't until, I was probably like 16, 17 years old where I started actually being attracted to boys. And that was shocking to me because I had never had those kind of attractions, not in any real way where I wanted to actually act on them,
Yeah.
And so I thought, okay, I'm bisexual because honestly, that was the only type of sexuality that I knew that accounted for my feelings. But then later on, I'm like, wait, there's this thing called pansexual. Okay, I think I might also maybe be that because I don't believe in binary gender. For me, binary gender is not a thing. I don't believe that there's only two genders. I think that there's multiple genders, and I'm attracted to all of them. So, but now we're getting into the parts of the episode that we're not supposed to be on yet. So thank you, Dan, for derailing us. So
I just thought it was important.
It is important. So what I want to talk about then is thinking about identifying as queer, but having it be both a set of sexual politics and a set of political identities and ideologies, which are two different things. You might have a queer person who's also very conservative and like votes for policies like, Proposition 8, like it can happen, right? You can have people who are gay, lesbian, queer, trans, asexual, etc., who are not liberally minded, who are not socialists, who are not radicals, right? And I think that there are often these misconceptions that because someone has a set of sexual politics, that they will have the same political ideologies that align with those sexual politics.
Yeah.
And that's not the case, right? That's how you have, like, it's the log cabin Republicans, right? Isn't that?
Yeah, I think that's what they're called.
Yeah, they're like the basically white, gay, male Republicans, right? And like some people are like, how does that make sense? And it's like, that actually makes perfect sense, right? It's like, that actually makes perfect sense. And so I think I want to clarify that when we talk about queerness, we have to understand that queerness is used in many different ways. And queerness is often, and I say this, as someone who identifies as queer, queerness is often used to indicate both a set of sexual politics and a set of political ideas and ideologies. So a lot of people who say I'm queer often are intervening in preconceived ideas about sex and gender and politics and the ways that we identify ourselves on purpose, right? Because they could simply say something else, but they say, in some cases, queer to not say something else, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's an effort to not participate in that system. And so I think it's important to understand that queer functions in so many different ways for so many different people. And for other people, it's not that at all. For other people, it's just, I'm just queer. That's just what it is,
Yeah, it's a word that has multiple meanings.
Right.
And to me, I kind of feel like, coming as someone who is a cis heterosexual male, I feel like growing up, especially growing up in the church, growing up in one of the most conservative, well-known places in California.
Where's that, Daren?
In Orange County, California.
Orange County. The county of oranges.
A conservative stronghold in a highly democratic and liberal state.
Yes.
I feel like I came in contact with a lot of people where like, if you said anything, if you said gay, if you said lesbian, if you said queer, it was just like, hold up. It was like, pause, stop the presses, avert your eyes, cover your ears, because it was like, that was just like, it was like code for bad. Like something we don't do, something that we don't interact with, something we, that's them, that's those heathens over there.
That's horrible.
And I feel like, number one, like, giving queerness all those definitions that you gave it, it's somewhat reclaiming that word and taking that negative connotation out, and then also redefining it for what it actually is, where it's like not the norm,
right? Not
what, like I was saying before, this like made up idea of normal, and it's saying I'm not whatever your normal ideal is,
right?
And that's not a bad thing,
right? And
to me, like, because it has that broad meaning, that is why it's something that we should be embracing. Like, it's like, to me, I think everyone is queer.
Exactly.
In some way, shape, or form.
Exactly.
We're all queer.
Exactly.
Like, no one really is that norm.
Exactly.
People try to be. People fake and front like they are.
Exactly.
But in their real life, in their heart of hearts, no one fits that.
Exactly.
And so, I'm queer because, I like comic books or something.
Right.
Or I'm queer because, my shoe game is on. Like, there's so many ways that people, can define themselves and find meaning and importance in who they are that does not fit that ideal.
Right. And that's what a lot of people say now. So, I mean, you actually are preaching a word right now, because Dr. Cohen has our article where she actually talks about queerness in that way. It's called Punks, Bulldaggers, and Welfare Queens. And it's talking about queerness through the lens of understanding that those who are queer because of a set of sexual politics are not that different from people who are queer because a set of identity markers that set them outside of a norm. So thinking about someone who's identified as a welfare queen, well, they're pretty queer because they're not going to be assimilated into some normative idea about the nuclear family or, you know, the white, cis, hetero, patriarchal, capitalistic, like they're not going to fit that. And so if we're all on the periphery of that normative idea, if we're all just out here floating around in that space of not the norm, then we are actually, yes, all queer. Like, a lot of us are queer. And she also makes a great point when she talks about, I'm talking about Kathy a lot today. She always talks about how married people, like straight married people, are actually a minority now. Like,
really?
Yes. Like, so like straight.
Wait, compared to what?
So like thinking about people who are coupling or people who are having children, like things like that. So thinking about previous roles that you would expect to see.
Like cohabitation.
Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah, so like people are taking more non-traditional ways of raising families, of building households. And so like cis heterosexual coupling and marrying, that's not normal. Like, that's actually not normal. Like, there's more people who figure out other ways to bring up families and to cohabitate and to couple and to figure out how to raise children or whatever. And so it's actually really interesting when you think about how the nuclear family has continued to be pushed as the norm when it's actually not even like the most likely way that you see families turn up in the world.
And it's really funny because we were just having dinner the other night and you were saying that, and it struck me because our waiter was like, "Oh, you guys have been together for so long.
Yeah.
You're giving us all hope." And it's funny because he said that and we both were like,
"Hope for what?
Because
what are you hoping for?"
And I think it's because, I feel like we live our lives the way that we live it, and to me it's a very queer way that we live our lives and how we're raising our kids and all of those things. And so sometimes when like these societal norms are reflected back at us, it makes us uncomfortable, and sometimes we're just very confused because, like he said, that I was like, well,
I don't walk outside with the idea that I'm hoping to give somebody hope. I've never done that before. I don't go outside like I hope I get somebody hope today.
And it's because we don't look at how our lives are structured as like the goal.
No,
like we made it, we crossed the finish line. No, this is what works for us.
I mean, we out here. I mean, we struggling. We just like everybody else. Yeah. I mean, we striving, struggling, and surviving. Like we out here. I feel like I just was singing the Jefferson song.
I'm not gonna do it,
but
I almost sang it.
I know, but like I just feel like we out here scratching and surviving. I mean, I feel like we out here doing what we got to do. I mean, we pushing, but like the idea that anybody who seems close to a norm is the goal. Like it goes back to our episode on relationship goals. Like stop that shit. Like we queer. People be out here doing stuff their own way. And that's cool. And that's fine. And we should be okay with all being different from the norm. Like we should be okay with embracing the ways that we deviate from some type of normative idea of what we should be.
Right.
Like we were talking to our baby girl the other day, and I was talking to her about how boring the world would be if everybody was the same.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Yeah, man, that would be really bad."
But isn't that funny though? When you think about kids, we always tell kids, "Oh, well, you're special and you're unique and you're different.
Right.
And I want to celebrate you for all of the things that make you."
And they grow up and we're like, "Be identical to this norm. You are Cinderella. You are Sleeping Beauty." Like it's like, wait.
But I mean, that's what we should be continuing to do.
Absolutely,
is let's celebrate everyone for who they are. Let's champion them for the things that make them different, and not make that be something that's shameful or or something they should hide or something that we should look down on them for.
And we should not be stigmatizing anything. It doesn't matter who people spend their time with, who they decide to cohabitate with or couple with or start a family with or whatever. Like, are we still doing that? This is 2018, the year of our Lord 2018, and we still out here trying to stigmatize people for who they couple with? Like, I cannot.
Listen, Janelle Monae did that Pink video. Did you see the Pink video?
I did. I watched it.
And she had vagina pants on.
Yeah,
and they was dancing in vagina pants.
Yeah.
And it was wonderful and it was amazing.
Yeah, and she had trans-inclusive vagina pants, too.
Yeah, and that's what, you know what? So, if she can do that, and make it look the way that it looked, I mean, do you.
Do you.
And just be the best you can be at being you.
And keep it moving and leave people the hell alone.
Like what you hear? You can find my mom and dad, aka That Black Couple, on the web at thatblackcouple.com. You can find them on Facebook at That Black Couple, and you can find them on Instagram and Twitter at That BLK Couple. If you have questions or comments about the show, email them at thatblkcouple@gmail.com. Thank you for listening.
All right, it is time for the reflection.
All right.
And I think this is actually my favorite part.
It always is.
I love the reflection.
You always get all smiley and shit.
Yeah, because it's like, bringing everything to a close and, bringing it home and making it very personal.
Stop smiling at me.
What? I like it.
Oh my God. Just start your reflection, child. Just reflect on whatever you got to reflect on.
Okay, so we're talking about queerness today.
Yes.
And I think when people, like we were just talking about our relationship and how people idealize us or they have certain thoughts or beliefs about our relationship.
Yeah.
And one of the things that that always strikes me, and I think it's struck me since the moment we actually were in a relationship, is people look at us and go, how?
Why? Because I'm taller than you?
Because that was the first one. The first one was, but she's taller than you. And I'm like, okay, so that means like we're not allowed to be together?
There's a rule,
like,
Daren.
What's behind that question?
There's a rule book, and it's probably in the gay agenda.
Oh, yeah, that's what it is. It's that gay agenda.
No, I think that might be the hetero agenda.
Oh, maybe that's what it is. Like to fit into the box.
Yeah, you
like,
can't have
heights
can't have a girlfriend taller than you.
Oh no, you can be taller, but I think the differential has to be like smaller.
Oh,
I think you're
I'm
outside
too
the
tall.
range. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I get that.
Is.
I got it.
Well, yeah, but that was the first one. The first one
Yes.
was like she's taller than you.
Yes.
And then you came out as queer.
Yes.
And then people were really
confused.
They're like, wait, she's queer.
She's gonna cheat on you.
Then what are you? Like if you're married to a queer person, what does that make you?
Are you also queer?
Does that? because I think in their minds they're like, okay, you're queer, so that means that you have to like something that's not a cis heterosexual man. Like you're like, I'm off limits for you, so that must mean that I'm not that, or you're not allowed to be queer,
or I'm not actually queer. I'm lying.
Like, something is not lining up.
It's
here.
a lie. It's a lie. If you like somebody who's cis and heterosexual, then you're not actually a queer person. That's in the heterosexual agenda as well.
And the other thing though, like you said, is that other people are like, oh, well, she's gonna cheat on you.
Yeah.
Like, oh, like she likes more than just men. That means she's
gonna get bored.
She's gonna be out there and she's gonna find every type of everybody and cheat on you. And it's just like,
wow. Yeah.
Number one, why are you in my business to this degree? Like, I need you to be more concerned with something else. Like, I think as two adult individuals, we can figure out how to define our own relationship.
Who've been together for like 15 years.
Right, like we can. I think we can figure this out because number one, if you wanted to go do, anything with whomever,
we talk about it.
That's within the bounds of our relationship, right. A conversation that we would have and
Same
decide.
For you.
Yeah, you're nay.
I mean, I gotta check them out to see what they're looking like. You ain't gonna do no trading down. Shoot, what you're not gonna do?
No, we're not stepping.
Neither one of us is stepping down.
We're not doing that.
No, we're not doing that.
We have set a standard.
If either one of us is stepping out, we're not stepping out and down. So, just to make that clear.
Just like you said, if Holly Berry showed up and was like, "Ooh, Daren,"
I'm gonna be like,
"Go ahead,
it's okay, go, cool. You enjoy yourself. Just bring them back, child. Just bring them back because I need them good benefits. I got this healthcare situation, so just bring his ass back, Holly. Shit,
I gotta see a specialist on Monday.
Listen, I got a cardiologist. So just when you gonna have him back, girl? Just hit me on WhatsApp.
But I think that's the thing. Like we've been talking about queerness and what queerness means and what that actually is.
And that's also queer though, right? So our relationship is also queer. And so like we have a semi-open relationship, meaning that neither one of us is fully into this monogamy thing. And that's also a queer way of being coupled.
Right.
Like I don't believe that I own your body. I believe that it's your body. And I don't believe that you own my body. I believe it's my body.
Right.
I believe it was yours before you met me. And I believe mine was mine before I met you.
Yeah, and the rules didn't change.
They didn't change. Nothing changed. And so you get to do what you want to do with your body. And I get to do what I want to do with my body. No, neither one of us needs permission from the other to do things with our bodies.
But we get to set those rules.
Yeah.
We get to decide what works for us and what doesn't.
Yeah,
work
and
for us.
But I respect you,
right.
And I love you, and so I'm gonna obviously want to include you in those decisions, and I want to know what you think and how that makes you feel, right? But like, I think that's the thing is people don't understand that queerness is actually a fantastic thing because it actually requires a whole lot more conversation. And a whole lot more like not assumptions. So
an understanding.
Right. A lot of heterosexual people, like a lot of straights be out there just making all type of assumptions about consent and about bodies and about property and ownership, invested commodifying of sex and all this shit, and they don't actually like get permission to enter their partner's space. And there's a lot of things that a lot of straights think is perfectly fine that's really fucked up and like really trash. And I feel like us queers be out here like, wait, like, I actually am in tune with my body, and I actually understand how my body works, and I know what I want, and I know what I like, and I know what I don't like. And if I don't know yet, I'm trying to figure it out. And I want to have a partner who's paying attention, and I'm paying attention to my partner. And so I'm trying to help my partner also understand what they want and how their body works. Like, it's actually a better relationship.
I think it's a different way of thinking.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're subscribing to these societal like goals and ideals, you're thinking, okay, I'm subscribing to these, and this is what I'm trying to achieve. So that means everyone else is too.
Exactly.
So that means we're all playing by the same rules. We're all the same.
Exactly.
So I don't have to have a conversation with you about what consent is or isn't.
Child.
Because we're all the same. So why would I have to?
It's like every time I hear somebody like, or in the movies and shit, when they be like, I'm married and I had no idea he never wanted children, or like, I didn't know that she had a hysterectomy, or I didn't know. And you be sitting here like, how the fuck do y'all not have these conversations about y'all's bodies and y'all's desires, y'all's sexual fantasies, y'all's goals and aspirations? Y'all, how are people not, how is this happening? Now, I'm not saying that queers are perfect and that we just be having all the conversations and that we're really good at it and all that stuff. But I am saying that there are certain norms that go along with heteronormativity, where it's embedded in the culture of heteronormativity. Right. Where it's like, a lot of binary genderism that says that the woman's supposed to do this thing and the man is supposed to do that thing, and the woman's supposed to take care of this stuff and the man takes care of that stuff. And those things are really problematic, and they create rules around sex and around bodies and around touching and around love. And
I mean, and it's funny when I think about our relationship and how we've been together for over a decade. Yeah. And things have changed drastically, and it's because as life changes, we change, our needs change. And thinking about like those gender roles, like it used to be like, you cook because you're the woman, and you gotta cook, and I don't, and I do. And as things changed, we've been fluid.
Wait, you trying to say that you feel like that?
No, I'm not saying that.
I was like, when did that happen, nigga? Because I wouldn't have married you.
No, but in a certain way, we kind of fit.
I think roles. We did fit those roles. I agree. I think that we got married very young. I was 21 and you were 22, and I think that when we got together at 18 and 19, we thought that was how we were supposed to be, because we had been socialized into heteronormativity, to believe that when you're in a heteronormative looking relationship that you are supposed to conform to those norms,
these roles. And
we quickly figured out that shit was not going to work for us.
And we came to that realization by having conversations
and having a baby.
And having life, sock us in the jaw. Yeah. To say, okay,
this ain't
you
working.
Can try to fit that, but there's a much easier way of accomplishing the same things. And it's by being fluid and flexible in different ways.
And it wasn't comfortable. It just didn't feel right. It just didn't fit us well. It didn't fit us well. I feel like we got really, really happy around the time of, I think, after our second child, when we started saying, fuck it. We were just like, fuck this shit.
It's like them commercials where it's like the first baby, you're like, oh, everyone needs a
hand sanitizer on. Second child, you're like, here, girl, just crawl up underneath that car and get that bottle filled. I mean, I just really think that queerness is an opportunity, right? So identifying as queer, thinking about queerness as expansive, thinking about identities as being fluid and along spectrums or however you define them, but as not being static. Right. As of not being identified and anchored to one thing and in one place. That, I don't understand why people are afraid of that. Like, I don't understand why anybody would be afraid of being free.
Thank y'all for listening. Before you go, make sure you follow us on Twitter and Instagram at ThatBLKCouple, on Facebook at ThatBlackCouple, and look us up on the internets at www.thatblackcouple.com.
Bye. Bye.